negative, we tell everything and the business manager, but we want to make sure everybody has all of that. Even if it's negative, we want to make sure that they know. So that's probably the most difficult part is that manager operations person comes in and they have to figure that if it's negative, what do I do? You never want to, I mean, I know when our board or our CEO
Good morning. Anybody need a last minute run to the coffee? No, we're all good. Awesome. Welcome to the Venture Center. The Venture Center is an entrepreneur, private sector-led program to turn ideas into real ventures. There are two groups of amazing entrepreneurs that are going to pitch this morning. The first group was chosen to pitch because they successfully completed this spring's pre-flight course. These are very early stage startups. They have discovered market viability for their solution. They continue to validate their business model and gain early traction. The second group of entrepreneurs are members of the Venture Center who are further down the road. These entrepreneurs are actively pursuing sales, investment, and partnerships. In fact, one of them, I hear, might be oversubscribed on his financing round. So we're really excited about that. The Venture Center turns ideas into real ventures through a proven process of education and mentorship. Our 4 stages are ideation, incubation, acceleration, and growth. Ideation includes programs and events that spark entrepreneurial discovery. These are programs that we do, that we work with other people to do, and that other people do to dramatically increase the time of the entrepreneurial problem. Examples of ideation programs we do include the weekly 1 Million Cuts program, hackathons, multi-day business model experiences like Startup Weekend and more. In these programs, we see 5 to 10% want to take this idea and turn it into a startup. They move into the incubation stage where we work with a curriculum, workshops that we do in partnership with other organizations like ASBDTC and others, and they get access to this workspace. The pre-flight curriculum incubation is focused on turning their idea into a scalable, repeatable, and investable business. In a series of weeks, not months, they work on their business model, conduct market research, test their assumptions by conducting customer validation, and building traction through real sales. Once a startup has received significant market traction, revenue, and has adequately de-risked their product market team, they're eligible to apply to the third stage, which is acceleration. Not quite a public speaker just yet, so bear with me. This acceleration stage, startups accelerate to prove the business models. They gain additional traction, revenue, and identify channel partners. For those remaining, we move them to the final stage, the growth stage. The growth stage is designed to move the founding team and company through a Series B and C venture investment and to highly accelerated growth. Mentorship is the secret sauce. Our mentors are domain experts who have been certified via concentrated training, as well as an 8-session mentor shadow program in which they sit in with one of our master mentors. So if you're a venture-centered mentor, please stand. Mentors, please stand. Let's give them a round of applause. Mentors like these global leaders are true domain experts in one of 4 areas. They've built, raised capital, and sold a company. They're a funding process expert, an industry expert, so they might know all about retail or automotive or healthcare, or a functional expert, IT, law, marketing, accounting. The key to success in mentorship is a systematic approach. Our mentor-driven process can accelerate entrepreneurs to greater market traction. If you're interested in being one of our mentors, talk to me after the program's ending, and we'll sign you up for the next mentor training session. Just as in ideation, everyone in the community can help build a strong startup ecosystem. We're proud to have strong multi-sector support across a wide range of corporate industries. These leading companies understand the importance of a strong entrepreneurial, technical, and creative environment and have been with us day one, getting the Venture Center off the ground. Pre-flight would not have been successful without amazing partners. I'd like to specifically thank Jay Cheshire with the Levi Jabben, Rod Ford of Accelerated Capital, and Nancy with the ASPDTC. These three partners have been the ones that have kicked in cash, mentorship, workshops to get these entrepreneurs from idea on a napkin to, hey, this has some real potential. Let's give those partners a big round of applause. Cool. Finally, I'd like to introduce today's mentor judges. The judges include Rod Ford, founding partner of Accelerate Capital and board member of the Venture Center, Carol Smith, senior vice president of Simmons Bank, and James Hendrick, the chairman of the Venture Center. Judges, each pre-flight entrepreneur will be given 5 minutes to pitch. Following the pitch, you'll have 3 minutes to provide feedback and recommendations for next steps. All right, to kick off the pitches today, please help me welcome Hendrick student entrepreneur, Levi Jabben.
Thank you, Lee. I'm Levi Jabben, founder and CEO of CarryCam. CarryCam is a device that enables you to automatically capture the moment. At age 7, I scored my first goal. Now, all right. But it was the Golden One League Championship, so I was excited. And my parents were ecstatic. But they were so excited that they didn't realize that they were filming the ground the entire time. So sadly, all I got was this pixelated picture from some other home. This happens a lot, let's face it. Parents are not professional camera operators. But CarryCam solves this problem by turning everyday camera equipment into a fully automated cameraman. Using advanced computer vision and armbands with tracking capabilities, CarryCam enables your camera to automatically follow and track the player going around the field. Now, people capturing their physical activities and posting to the web is a trend that's growing exponentially. And also with the growing emphasis on athletics to counteract obesity, that is a driving force for youth participation in sports. Also, advances in machine learning have allowed for computer vision to be leveraged and used in our everyday lives. Now, we're going to go after tiger parents. These are the parents that are over the top supportive. They're very dedicated to their kids' success, and they're most likely already invested in their kids' success as well. These tiger parents with the kids around ages 5 and 14 are going to be our early adopters. Now, there are 18.6 million parents with kids in sports between the ages of between 5 and 14 in the nation. Now, 5.2 million of them are tiger parents, and 50,000 of those live right here in Little Rock and the Tulsa area. These parents in the Little Rock and Tulsa area will be our initial target market. Now, with $65 going to each CarryCam, but sales at $199, we will have a 67% profit margin. And then to begin, we'll go directly to soccer tournaments to be able to showcase our product, because there will be thousands of tiger parents all in one place. Then, there we go. All right. Then we'll focus on our website that will allow us to market, sell, and provide customer service throughout the web. Then once we build traction that way, we will go and try to sell our product through major retail stores. Now, out of 50,000 tiger parents here in Little Rock and Tulsa, we're going to go after 15% of the market, and that will lead us to $1.5 million in sales. Now, it's a new market, but there are some competitors. Drones, you might have heard of, they're neat, but they fall out of the sky after 20 minutes. Solo shot, it's all right, but it uses older technology like GPS. CarryCam will use computer vision to be more accurate, and the armband will be NCAA approved so that the players can actually wear them in the games. And then also, the price at $199 is significantly lower than the leading competitor. So far on the team, it's just me, but I will be acquiring software and hardware developers, as well as marketing and sales professionals, as I develop CarryCam through beta and launch. My milestone so far, I started pre-plan with just an idea. I walked in the door and I was like, hey, that sounds cool. But I took that idea and I took it to the Hendricks Business Plan competition, and I was able to win $800 over the result. I was then able to fund my alpha device prototype that's currently being finished up with the finishing touches by a software developer in Russia. My next step will be to raise $75,000 to build, deploy, and test beta units. And then I will sign distribution partnerships with local retail stores, and finally raise $250,000 for the official launch of CarryCam. So, CarryCam, thank you.
Thank you, Levi. That's looks like a great product, actually. And I'll commend you on working backward. A lot of times in these situations, people want to sell the product they envision instead of selling the product that solves the problem. So you obviously are, through your personal experience, have a problem you're trying to solve. One of the comments I'd give you that in terms of as you move forward raising money, let me just ask you a question. Beyond capital, which is the oxygen of any entrepreneurship, beyond capital, what in your mind is the single biggest risk for this product being successful?
The biggest risk in my mind, probably getting it out to market and realizing that it's not going to be like possibly a competitor overtaking it already. And so that's the biggest risk that I have.
Yeah, I'd coach you a little bit to say that your biggest risk is does the technology. So in your presentation, the thing that I just did that I'd like to see more of, without getting into the weeds of the technology, is what is your technology? Why is it different? How confident are you that you can produce this new technology at a price point that delivers those gross margins? And fundamentally, will it work? Because the distribution won't matter unless the tech stack works. So that'd be my advice to coaching. But I thought the presentation was very good.
Thank you.
I know a zillion of these people. I see them every day. I go to their tournaments. I mean,
But have you ever heard of Tiger Bear?
no. And I think that is a beautiful description. So good for you in that regard. I'm a little confused how the product works, how you envision that it works. I heard something about armbands on the athlete.
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't have to go into all the details today, but I would advise you to maybe be a little clearer on how the armband works with the camera, works with catching the student, because I'm a little confused on how that works.
Yes, ma'am.
But if, and I totally agree with Rod, if you can get through that and explain to an investor exactly how the user makes it work, that's what it comes down to. It's going to probably be pretty easy for some of the tiger parents that I know. I think that is it.
Thank you.
A couple of thoughts here. One is, I think you're going to have to be careful with watching your pennies in that phase where you're trying to sell direct to the folks at the soccer tournaments and so forth. If you're paying employees to be out there to do that, you won't do that 75,000 pretty fast. So, and kind of watch your budget there real carefully. And the other thing that I would suggest that you might want to take 30 seconds here to answer this is, you mentioned computer vision, which is kind of a somewhat new term. Why don't you explain a little bit about what that is?
All right, computer vision is a new software that, enables a computer to sync up and really hone into a singular item or person. It can hook on to a certain color, or it can sense motion, and it communicates to the computer to tell it, like, this is what it is, and this is where it's going to go. And so it's a new software, it's very cool, but it is about syncing into certain items, which my armband will be syncing to that, and that's what it'll follow.
So is it an app that's downloaded to your iPhone or your iPad as you're using it as a camera? So I'm a little confused on educate me from the leap from a computer to a camera.
All right, the CarryCam device itself, it will, for my Alpha prototype, I'm using a webcam, and it's connected to one motor and a Raspberry Pi. And so the webcam will sense that color on the armband, and it'll be able to sync into it and tell the motor, like, go right, go left, to try to keep it in its scope of vision.
Okay, thank you.
And how wide a range is that resulting photo? Is it gonna see just my kid, or is it gonna see the whole field area where my kid is?
The webcam, right now, it only sees that single color. Like, it actually blacks out everything else
Except the armband?
except for the armband, so as long as that's in its vision, it can keep it in its line of sight.
So,
It's about a 10-yard area, and yeah, you tell it to stay in a certain area.
All right, thanks for that. Next, Christy Eisen is going to share with you how she's disrupting the food service industry.
Am I? Where's the who's got the liquor? You ready? All right, I'm Christy Eisen, founder and CEO of AirGoodJobs.com. We're more than a job board, we're matchmakers for Arkansas's hospitality industry. This is Chef Joel Antonis. He's the executive chef of the Capitol Hotels of 111. He's an internationally known, very well-respected chef. He has exacting standards for the people who cook in his kitchen, and that extends even to the people who serve the food, even the people who open the front door of the hotel. The Capitol Hotel has established a really high standard of success and excellence, and that starts with who they recruit, who they hire, and how they train them. We're seeing some similar issues that the Capitol Hotel has had with employers all over the state with some research. They have trouble finding ambitious, qualified employees and maintaining their delicate profit margins in the hospitality industry. They do things like run ads on Craigslist, they'll run ads on social media, they'll even put things on national job boards all with very cool results. I'm also on the advisory board of Plastic Tech's culinary program, and there we're seeing some issues on the candidate side. They have trouble hearing about job openings and promoting an advanced skill set that they may happen to have. The solution is AirGoodJobs. It is a service as a subscription, web-based solution with a hyper-local job board. And this is something that we can duplicate in other markets and growing markets across the Southeast. We have high-quality resumes. You don't have to slog through a bunch of really poor candidates to find exactly what you need. And on certain subscription levels, we have hands-on staffing support for our people. And this is all done in a community-based model. For example, here in Little Rock, we've already had great success with events, social events and educational events that bring the hospitality community together. Our go-to-market strategy includes forming partnerships like we've done here in Arkansas with the Arkansas Hospitality Association and Plastic Tech's culinary program and the national channel partners you see here. Through that model, we've already been able to help some high-profile customers that you see right here. Starting with the Arkansas market, there are about 5,000 to 6,000 restaurants throughout Arkansas. Of that, in the next 6 to 12 months, we believe we can capture registration information of about 1,000 of those. Those will be our high-value targets, usually independently owned large restaurants and hotels. Of that, within that same time period, we believe we can capture 250 subscribers and also a good number of one-time users of the site, which will gain us in about a year's time an annual gross revenue of $1 million. We can take that funnel and duplicate it in rapidly growing markets across the Southeast, which will gain us in 3 to 4 years a $10 million annual gross revenue. Why now? By 2022, we will see a 20.6% growth in hospitality jobs. There's more and more jobs because there's more and more demand. At the same time, even right now, in 2015, 26.8% of hospitality employers are feeling the crunch of finding good help. And they're planning on increasing their recruiting and hiring efforts. They're looking for help, and we can be that help. We do have competition. There's lots of old school job boards out there. But we're the ones that are exactly right for this market through different ways. One is the staffing help that I told you about for our subscribers. One is the resume database that I told you about coming from culinary programs and highly experienced professionals. And this one is in progress. This is something we're very excited about, a training program, video-based, that we're going to be producing in partnership with the National Restaurant Association. They're going to help us distribute that nationwide and help us when we expand to the markets. Our services include subscription and one-time based solutions that give our customers access on varying levels to the job board, those hands-on staffing support, and our online training materials. We've already built a business team, as you see here. We are planning on adding an operation and sales manager, and we will be adding more to our advisory board, both here in Arkansas and in the markets we plan to expand to. Some milestones. We've already been able to raise $35,000 of non-dilutable income. With that, we've developed our first platform and had some very good success, as you see here. Today, we're seeking capital and seeking some connections that will help us reach that 1 million gross revenue goal that I told you about earlier. And from there, that will launch us to a 3 to 4 year goal of the expansion to the Southeast markets. Again, we are looking for investment. We're also looking for connections. I know every one of you knows someone in the industry. And maybe you know somebody that would be a good operations manager for us, or maybe you know an advisory board member. So I look forward to visiting with you later about interview jobs.
Christy, thank you. Very needed solution here to a definitely existing problem. Tell us a little bit more about your revenue model, your different methods that people can interact with ARP's jobs and the revenue generation.
For our first few months, we have been a one-time payment system. So if somebody needed one listing, it was $75. When they get up to 5, it was about $200. We are currently transitioning to that subscription model. Again, we did this in cooperation with the Hospitality Association, what they felt that their membership would be comfortable with. And then also, through our research, we found that not everybody needs to hire everyone. A lot of these larger operations have really good retention. So that's why we came up with the idea of training. So that way, we can have a subscription where they're getting value every month, even if they don't need to hire somebody. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Steve. Great presentation, lots of information in a very short period of time. I think it's kind of spinning without questions. Sure. But it looks like to me that you've done an excellent job in pulling together some very good industry people to be on your advisory council, and you've done a lot of great homework here. I probably don't know enough about the big industry to make any observation of what the need for this situation is, but I can tell you that there's lots of industries out there that need very similar connections, industry specific to find talent. So I do know that much. I would wonder how your model would go forward and predict what would happen in the next recession when this industry gets hit pretty hard. I know that's always a problem in the hospitality industry, but we won't go there yet. That's too negative. I think that you've done an excellent job, and look forward to hearing more about it.
I can't answer that though. Okay, so looking back at the National Restaurant Association data for about 2009, we had after the big recession, there was still demand, in fact, greater demand for people in the food service industry because people still went out to eat, people still not as much. But there were the restaurants, for the most part, of the higher end ones that we are working with, stayed in business, and they still needed people. So even through that, there was still be a demand.
Well, I do know that there is a reasonable amount of turnover in this industry. I mean, so others, which would cause even more need for what you're talking about. So I think it's very interesting.
Chrissy, I thought the presentation was very well curated and presented. You achieved the objective, which is understanding. I don't know anything about your industry, and I understand. So that, to me, is what well curated, well presented presentation does. So congratulations. I also very much like the idea. There's a couple of companies I'm advising today that are subscription models. I love the idea of integrating events into a subscription model. You've got to find a way to create that value distinction away from job boards, and that the events, the training, basically the ability to connect the dots, a community, a sense of community, a place to connect the dots, much like what Venture Center is, provides value that a somewhat antiseptic website that connects buyers and sellers or employers and employees, it's very antiseptic. It doesn't create that kind of interpersonal connection. So I love the idea of interacting through events. The only thing I would say that as a suggestion, the name. So now I've got my investor hat on.
I know it's
Okay. So $1 million of revenue into the future doesn't create enough market density for an early stage investor to get their desired return on capital for that early stage risk. You need to be able to show a clear pathway to $3 to $5 million, because that's the only way the early stage investor is going to look at that and say, for the amount of risk that I'm going to see, I'm going to get a 3.5x return on my money. So doing it in stages is okay. It's you spin out from the core of the onion, so it's okay to go where you're known and then plan to spin out. However, my coaching would be, if you're going to move regionally, and one would think this would work regionally as well as it would locally, you got to show me that pathway. And so I don't see that pathway. Is it arfoodjobs.com, then tnfoodjobs.com, lafoodjobs.com, and okfoodjobs? So is it subsidiaries under a holding company, or do we rename the whole thing and just focus the services legal? So the point is, from an investor perspective, you've got to show a path to market density. So I need to see that to get really excited about investment.
You're going to get service.
So
So I own the URLs for all of our target markets, and I'm in negotiations for foodjobs.com, which would be the parent URL on all the data flows of that.
that's easy to get excited about.
I think the other thing that investors are going to look for is seeing some traction. So have you got any traction signed, restaurants signed up?
I do have
Paying
traction.
customers?
Right, our biggest paying customers right down the street at Capitol Hotel. We've worked with, you saw some of my customers earlier, the state of Arkansas, a lot of their state parks that have restaurants have been working with me. The Clinton Center has hired me, my latest customers, Trios, on varying levels. So I've got, the Capitol Hotel is probably my biggest client, all the way down to a mom and pop shop in Russellville that needs, one person. So I've got some good traction right now.
Great.
We can wrap it up.
All right, thank you, Chrissy.
All right.
Finally, the lady's changing how education is delivered across the country. Please help me welcome Tina McCord.
Thanks, Lee. I'm Tina McCord, founder and CEO of Zuni Learning Tree. Zuni Learning Tree is a cloud-based platform that curates educational resources. Remember when you were a kid and you had that one special teacher, that one that inspired you to dream? I bet you can remember their name. Zuni Learning Tree is mobilizing every teacher to become that one special teacher. We're doing it by equipping our teachers with the tools and resources that they need to be that one special teacher, to help our children and our nation realize their dreams. Until recently, publishers were responsible for creating all the content. This content consists of static pages that told teachers what to teach and when to teach. Today, the internet is exploding with millions and millions of resources. And by 2020, 70% of content is expected to be user-created. And in addition, technology is changing the way instruction is delivered inside the classroom. With all of these constant changes taking place in education, teachers everywhere are asking for help. Teachers carry the biggest burden of stress in our educational field. They're the ones challenged with implementing the Common Core state standards. They're challenged with using all this new technology. They're challenged with achieving our test scores. And their evaluation and their compensation is based on how they do these challenges. Our parents are challenged with trying to support their children at home. The new Common Core makes it difficult for some parents to support basic math. The internet is a fantastic tool. However, it's easy to get lost in through those millions of resources, and parents are too busy to spend the time looking. And districts and states, they're constantly challenged with budget cuts. They're constantly challenged with teacher retention issues. They're challenged with being able to stay in compliance with state and federal regulations. And they also need to implement great initiatives like the one-to-one classrooms, STEM, coding, project-based learning. And everyone involved in education, states, districts, teachers, and parents, they're all concerned with achieving those test scores. Zuni Learning Tree is the answer to this solution. Our system consists of three main components: the Learning Management System, Professional Development Hub, and our Content Management System. Zuni Learning Tree goes out and curates all of these resources, the millions of them. We bring them into our Zuni engine, which is our proprietary system that we use to curate our educational content. Through this process, we put our content on the platform, providing teachers the tools and resources they need, when they need them, where they need them. Between 2012 and 2014, we generated $420,000 in pre-sale revenue. From that revenue, we created a custom Zuni Learning, and we also created our basic Zuni Learning, which we launched in January this year for $19.99 per school per year. Every educator, parent, and student whose school has access to this has complete access to Zuni. Since January 2015, we've increased our annual revenue with our basic Zuni model by $60,000. By December 2015, our pipeline shows that we're working towards $230 million in increased annual recurring revenue. By 2016, we're focusing on statewide implementation of 1,100 schools just across Arkansas for $2.2 million in annual recurring revenue. In the U.S. alone, there are 67,000 elementary public schools. Zuni's basic platform is pre-K-5. We are ready to address the challenges in all of those schools. Other markets we can enter into are charter schools or private schools, and there are 1.7 million homeschool students. We work with strategic partners to be able to access their already existing sales channels. We also will attend educational conferences very targeted at what we're using. And by these different methods, we will be able to work towards addressing 5% of that 67,000 elementary schools to generate $49 million in revenue, reoccurring revenue. Our team consists of wonderful content curators, wonderful educators, and a dynamite software development team that's hosted both locally and internationally. Our advisory board consists of Ray Simon, who was former U.S. Deputy Secretary of Education and former State Commissioner of Arkansas Education, and Woody Cummings, former State Deputy Commissioner of Education here in Arkansas, as well as a principal, retired educator, and a businessman. These two stand behind Zuni to both help us open doors locally and nationally. We've achieved several milestones, and the one that we are currently working on is we're seeking people with educational connections both locally and nationally and politically. We're seeking to raise $450,000 to increase our sales both locally and nationally, and to expand into the middle and high school markets. So Zuni Learning Tree, with your help, we can touch every teacher, every parent, every child in the nation. So you can feel good about making profits because we're doing something really great for everyone in our nation.
Great presentation. Obviously a need out there. The thing that strikes me the most here is you've got the right customer. One of my big philosophies is you sell people that have the money in the school district versus your other two users, the ones that have some money. So you got the right customer there. Tell us a little bit about, which could be very labor intensive if you were doing it yourself. Tell us a little bit about the source of your content.
So we curate, we contract with educators every summer and they help us curate. With the advent of Common Core, curation changed. We needed to find those resources that were actually creating tools to work with the Common Core state standards. Federal government provided several grants to different agencies in different states, and they have produced those that content. So we curate that content, and we bring to teachers content they didn't even know existed. That's top of the line, top of the market to help implement that Common Core state standards. So we have a team that is our biggest expense, is continually curating. Once it's built, you're pretty solid, then you're continually updating and adjusting the monitor and change. And that's where we are with our pre-K 5. We adjust, monitor, and change every summer. We bring a group of teachers in, they vet, touch every resource, tell us new stuff they might want to find out. And what's really great is they learn about tools they had no idea existed when they come in back with us.
Great presentation. I have a few more questions. So your customers are the school districts, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And their process for approval and purchasing this system, how does that work?
It varies. The smaller school district is simple. I presented at a conference, Rural Ed conference, the superintendent saw it, called his principals, called his curriculum people to come and look at it that day. They paid me in 3 weeks. I sold over the phone, actually, it was on email at 4 o'clock in the morning, the superintendent used. We were emailing back and forth about professional development, sold him Zoom, and he had a check when I was there a week later. I worked with another school district, I presented January 23rd, the check is scheduled to come next week. So working with the small districts is very simple to do. Working with larger districts takes a little more time. You have to go through a few more committees to make sure you access it. But the nature of Zuni, we're allowed to access many budgets. So they're able to find it. It can come from special ed, reg ed, federal title money, parent advocacy. It can come from a variety of avenues, curriculum and instruction, professional development. So we don't have to go through a lot of the procedures that sometimes other bodies have.
And your final content approval comes from
The teachers that vet for us.
Okay, so are there, I'm curious if there are roadblocks out there anywhere you see that either by district standards or state standards or federal educational requirement standards that cause issues for you when you start tweaking content or anything of that nature. You don't have to answer all that. That's kind of the first question that comes to mind. Sounds like a very needed product. And with endless applications, is it restricted? What happens when you go to another state?
So we go to another state, they'll see basic Zuni, but they won't see the pages that refer to Arkansas. So if you were in Georgia and you got a license online, you'll see pages that refer to Georgia. That is part of the next development that we're working on. But right now, you can be in any state and purchase Zuni, and you have access to all the basic content.
A very good presentation. What does the name Zuni mean to you? Why Zuni?
People always ask that question, I wish I had like a really funny
I thought
story.
there was I remember that being a Native American tribe that lives on the Colorado River.
It is.
On the rafting trips.
Yes. And so, you know, when I was familiar with the name, I was just sitting at my kitchen table, and I love names that have the E sound in it, so I was just putting consonants with it, putting it together, and I came up with Zuni, and I was like, oh, that is so cool, Zuni. So I grew up both as me, and there was a Native American tribe, and they were a very peaceful tribe. That's why they were able to exist so well through the wars. And the women were strong leaders, they were equal partners, and I really liked both of those principles. So I accepted Zuni as the name. And what has really happened with the name is I love when I go into school and teachers say, I've got my Zuni on. Have you been Zuni lately? We need to get that on Zuni. How's Zuni doing? And it's just become part of their culture in the schools and just the name, so it's been really fun.
I love that. I'd weave it into part of your branding. I think that's an asset. Maybe not the Indian part, but the strong women part. Let me ask you a question here. So, and Carol already asked about the same question I was going to ask around the cyclical nature of sales in school. So, my question is slightly different. So, this appears to me to be fairly disruptive. But my question is, are you disrupting an incumbent or are you disrupting a behavior? What's the disruptive nature of this? Are you displacing another company that's already selling content, or when you're, and I really want to know that not from a theoretical perspective, I want to know it from a boots on the ground in the sales process. When you're in there selling to whomever you're selling to, whether it's a superintendent or whomever, or the head of the committee, whatever it happens to be, are they looking at it and saying, this is not available anywhere else, this will change the way our teachers think about the way they assimilate content, or are they saying, oh, McGraw-Hill has this is one of their modules. Are you displacing an incumbent or are you displacing a behavior?
So we can do both. So what happens when they see this, everyone has wanted everything in one location, resources are scattered everywhere. So they wanted everything in one location, and then they learned about tools that they didn't know exist. And so every presentation I'm going, I'll say, how many of you know ThinkLink, Politics, Greenworks.org? And I'll barely get 10% of yeses on any of those. I show them not only where they are, but in Zuni, they're where a teacher needs them when they need it. So if they were working with place value and decimal, they would see a plethora of resources divided out by if you were using a smart notebook, if you were using something from print material, you would see each section you needed, you could copy and paste that in your lesson plan, you go. That's plenty of time in half, is what the teacher said. So we put everything in one location, they learn about more. Now this is what I also encourage districts. Once you see everything you have, you can determine what you're paying for that you need to keep. And you will find there are a lot of things you don't need to keep. And the other thing is it helps districts prevent them from duplicating their purchases, because finally they can see what they have in one location. So special ed doesn't need to go purchase this. The federal program has already purchased this, especially if it's free on the internet. So 99% of what's on Zuni is free from the internet.
Okay, so that leads me to my second question, which is the business model. Is the business model consists of layers of access to content, like a LinkedIn membership, basic membership, premium membership, influencer membership, or just talk us through the business? Because when you talked about picking up the checks, I'm thinking that's a first payment, right? So how does the subscription model work?
So I really like keeping it simple. It's one subscription model. They access everything that's in there. Later, we may add on a premium when we bring on some of our professional development online videos and tutorials. That will be a premium that they can upsell into. But right now, what they access everything at that base price.
Okay, and how many school, the dollars that you generated 2012, 2014, how many school districts is that, and how many usable persons, teachers, does that represent?
So our first was North Little Rock. We did a custom Zuni for them. So we spent 3 years building their custom Zuni. They have all their proprietary information linked in there as well. So we cover all their teachers, all their parents, all their students access Zuni. That's how we began.
Okay. My last question is the tech stack. So think about the chart inside your doctor's office, a pain scale from smiley face to not so smiley face. Where is your tech stack development on that pain scale? How much of it is developed? How much of the technology in terms of the platform and the curation capability actually exists to where you want it to exist? Obviously it exists in kind of version 1, but are you on version 2, version 3, version 4? How far are you on the road?
10. In 4 years, we're on several versions since we started. I didn't even know anything about web design at the time we started. We leaps and bounds. So we're always have the next iteration in mind. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's going to become an interactive tool when we work in the secondary. It will become an interactive tool and a production tool that students can use as well. So we're going to have a lot of other we bring a lot of tools that students use to learn and to present their information back. So it's not just about teachers getting the resources, it's about what students do and how they can use high order thinking skills back. So on the pain scale, elementary pre-K 5, it's ready. Are there things I want to do to it as a creator? There's always going to be. Did it have to be done today? My team tells me all the time, no. We are selling what we have and it works great. The middle school and high school model is something I want to build out. We're going to look a little more in depth at just what that will cost. And every district asks me, when will you have middle and high, and when is the administrators going to be ready? So I get it from every district. The market is amazing. We have a very open market. We're the leaders. These are the kind of things that we do better than anyone else.
Great, thank you. Great answer.
Awesome. Let's give the three fighters to the judges. We've got three more real quick. Does anybody need a short break? Yes, no. Okay. We'll take a quick 2 minutes here, get coffee, restrooms, or through the kitchen. And then three more exciting entrepreneurs.
Marty?
All right, cool. So next, I'm pleased to welcome 3 outstanding Venture Center members on stage to provide an update on the traction of their startup. To introduce Merger Match, please welcome Carol Smith.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure for me to be here to introduce my friend and good customer, Bridget, Farris. All her partners are out around the country playing, one's in Vegas and kind of where Ken is. So this kind of fell to me just because I've been very involved with it from the beginning and have supported what they've done. So 2 seconds on who Bridget is, and I'm going to tell you that she's one smart woman, and anything I tell you that she's done, I don't even understand what these words mean, because she is so accomplished. So, this is a lovely factor here. I don't know much about technology. But she is the co-founder of Merger Match with Levi Jabben. She has 30 years experience in financial technology, organizational change management, product management, software development. She has a very, very illustrious background. She's a partner to 2 U.S. patents involving capability maturity models, and she is trained and certified in CMMI, which is a Carnegie Mellon product. She has a very extensive background in these types of technology, starting way back in I wouldn't want anybody to tell that about me. But she did start with systematics. That goes how far it goes back. For 13 years in systematics. The next 15 years with IS and Alltel, ending up at Axiom, and then founding her own company and Merger Match very recently. So she is very accomplished and has a wonderful product to tell you about. Thank you, Carol. Let's make a big blush.
Thank you. That's quite an introduction. I'm not sure I can live up to that, but I'll try. As Carol said, we have developed this model at Merger Match that we hope will have a great success in mergers and acquisitions. In the United States alone last year, there were mergers engaged in to the tune of $1.5 trillion. That's a lot of money. 750 billion of that was written off as a loss. That's 50% of all mergers and acquisition investment written off as a loss. In addition to that, another 33% resulted in missed goals. The targets for the acquisition were not met, not achieved. So the company survived, but not exactly making a lot of progress. That leaves 17% successful in the mergers and acquisitions venture. That's not very good. So that gives us a huge target market to move forward. And our salesperson, Ken Clark, who's also a psychotherapist and a certified financial planner, so he's got some good stuff going on. He says it fails as often as marriages. He does marriage counseling, and for a lot of the same reasons. So, what's the psychology behind this urge to merge? I mean, if the failure rate is so high, why do we keep doing that? Well, there's some really good reasons. Growth. We want to grow our companies, and acquisition is faster than organic growth. The synergy. I look at another company and I'm like, oh, that product fits really well with mine. I'm going to go get that. We're just like the cost. If I have suppliers and they cost me a lot of money, I'll just buy them, make them part of my supply chain, reduce my cost. I'm going to diversify my portfolio to lower my market risk from fluctuations in the market. I'm going to buy my competition. That's easier to fix in my product. Or I have cash. Look at Apple. They've got to do something. I've got to do something with my cash. So with all of those really good reasons, why do we still have an 83% failure rate? Well, and that's what our tool is addressing. It's this lack of integration inside planning. The financial due diligence that goes on with mergers and acquisitions is really good. They know when they sign that deal that the financial aspects of that deal are good and sound. What they don't always look at in enough detail is the operational due diligence, the cultural aspects. They assume because they're similar, possibly it's an easy strategic fit and just fits right into my portfolio. portfolio, or they pay too much. If you're gonna buy a house, you're gonna agree on the price, you can get your bank financing, you like the neighborhood, everything's great, you got the deal done. But you're not gonna do it without doing an inspection of the house to see what's wrong with it, what's underneath that you can't see. And it's very similar to this. We want to do the due diligence to see, is that, you know, the house near their roof, or what are those hidden expenses that are going to trip me up post acquisition? Or I'm overestimating the leverage I'm going to get out of the facilities or the people or the products. But basically, it's the better to focus on the differences between the company and those cultural things that cause us to trip up. Just a few, we talk about really big companies merging, and we see these in the news all the time, and they have very, very deep pockets. But who wants to be this guy? I presided over the worst merger in this century. And when you self-quoted, not to mention all what we're talking about here, these guys lost billions of dollars in a very short period of time. You take a small company, a family-owned company, a small $20 million company, they will not survive that kind of acquisition. So what do we do at Merger Match that's going to help solve this problem? We call it our secret sauce, and it is a capability maturity model, as Carol referred to, that we developed. That looks at about 170 attributes of all these capabilities of cultural, organizational, and operational aspects of culture, and matches those companies together and brings them on how well they match up. Okay? So we can look at this and say, oh, all these things are great, I really need to pay attention to that, because those are some pretty big gaps between how my company does it and how this target company does it. So this gives us kind of a roadmap of what we're doing. And it's fact-based, it's not opinion. It's, do you do this or do you not do this? And then we come in with kind of our do first list, which says, as an acquirer, I assess myself, I set my target where I want my prospects to measure up to, and then I measure the actual target, and I can really quickly see where I've got very big gaps in matching capabilities. And then we've developed what we call our merger match score. And think of this in terms of a FICO score and what it did for credit lending, credit reporting, and we come up with a merger match score that measures your company, just one company, and its health in all these 7 capabilities. Not culture, because that's a different animal, but in these 7 capabilities, it measures your score. So if you're a VC, you're evaluating multiple companies, you could get a merger match score on each one of them, compare them against each other. So how does it work? It's a pretty simple process. It's not a huge burden of time-wise. We work with the company to set the goals and targets for their prospects. We assess both the multiple companies using the merger match assessment tool, and then we prepare our analysis and advise you with these roadmaps and the guidance that we provide under the tool. And so it helps you either prepare for the merger, or negotiate that, or just make your plan on how you want to integrate the companies post-acquisition, and builds confidence in your investors, your C-suite, your board. So the company right now consists of myself and my partner, Lee Stroud, and our salesperson, Ken Clark. And about our background there, which Carol talked a little bit about. So today, we are not asking for investment. We are self-funded, such as we are looking for introductions. We are in active sales mode. We have our first sales proposals out, waiting to hear about those. So we are actively selling and completing development of the model. So we're looking for introductions, referrals, advice. Thank you all for coming today.
Awesome. Thanks, Bridget. All right, to introduce the next chief, please welcome Sean Farris, Communications Director at Philadelphia Public Schools.
Thank you. As you just said, the Communications Director at the Philadelphia Public Schools. Just got here at the Rockville Music Camp this morning because I'm really, really excited about something, and arrived to find myself even more excited because of what I was able to be part of here today. So first, just a quick word about what a privilege it has been to be here and to hear these ideas, to hear good questions asked by people that it's just been a privilege to hear the exchange. So I'm really happy that Justin asked if I would be available to do this. To introduce Apogee, I think just telling the story about the communication efforts over the last few years since I've been at our public schools was appropriate. I was tasked in the beginning to create a way of doing something that's been really hard in public education. We're under siege, and without getting into all of that, there's a lot going on. I'm not an educator, I'm a journalist by training, but there's a lot going on in classrooms that's good, that the story isn't being told. That's the first major problem that we is that I needed that public education needs a solution for, is telling our story. The second is that education had been cornered by companies that were doing a really lousy job of providing good tools to do that. So with those two things in mind, I needed to redesign our district's website. I was asked to look into launching a mobile app. I was handed a hodgepodge of social media channels that were already existing, some being used, some not really. Some were just kind of the head of particular schools and counselor, and others were being run by maybe a librarian or maybe the campus principal. One of the being is there was no consistency. There was very little collaboration campus to campus, even in a district the size of Arkadelphia, which is not very large. There were just all of these independent, fractured efforts of trying to tell a unified story, and it was a hot mess. It is bad. So I had this idea, and I thought, I'm not real smart about it, but I can see where things are being done well, and I can see where things should be improved. And I thought this should be simple. The solution here is to simplify all of this hotness. We need a CMS platform that can control all of these products so that we're delivering the story the same way, whether it's at our kindergarten classrooms or in a 12th grade engineering class. People that are going to be trained to use these things need to have direct access. They don't need to have to come through a single gatekeeper to tell their story. They need to be able to do this on their own. They can have a Facebook account and do this, and they need to be able to tell that story on the website, however they're reaching out to the patrons, the taxpayers of our district that are making decisions on whether or not the next village is going to pass. Or they need to have that direct access. There doesn't need to be a gatekeeper. I just kept thinking, the more I went through it, with my 8 to 12 tabs open in my Safari browser, trying to manage a Twitter account with every single campus, the Facebook page, the websites, which were on the same CMS platforms, they were managed in different platforms. I just thought we got to cut out all of this nonsense. So I went to some really big names in the state, web developers and such, and I thought they're gonna have a solution for this. This is gonna be easy. It's just gonna be a matter of who we want to go with as the best solution. Who I can come with the best. No one had. There were some people that were doing parts of it really well, and no one was doing all of it at all. Not even that they weren't doing it well. There just did not exist a way to control all of the storytelling tools that a district used from one place, from one company, did not exist. And I thought, I don't know how I'm going to solve this. Like, all of a sudden, what I thought was going to be a pretty easy job is really overwhelming. And this was the story of Graham a lot of us. And we're a special district that we have communications. This was a new thing for us, and these jobs are kind of propped up around. But there are districts, a lot of districts, that this task is trying to be managed by someone that doesn't have that much time to devote to it. That's when I was introduced to Justin. Just by luck, someone said, "Who do you talk to?" You talk back. He sat down and showed me real shit. It's a CMS platform that from one place can simultaneously control a mobile app, your website, any social media accounts that you're using. We're using Facebook and Twitter, all from one place. You can launch one message from one place, and you can extend it out with push notifications, mass text message, mass voice calls, all from one product. I can get rid of all of these other extra ones, and all of that is going to pay for what we're paying to have all of our websites, everything redesigned, and everything that we're using through Apogee in one place. It's been an absolute game changer for me as a professional, and I think the potential for the product is enormous. So with that, please welcome Justin George.
like to thank Sean for doing my pitch for me. That's really good. So I'm going to do an abridged version of the actual pitch that we do. I'm Justin Jordan, founder and CEO of Alumni. 2 years ago, I'm really involved in my nephew's life, and we wanted to go to all of his school events and keep track of everything. But as an uncle, we're not like the parents where we get all the specific information. And we thought, well, school's got to have apps, right? And we started looking around, and most of them didn't. Then we started looking around to see what kind of options were available. And what we realized is there were horrible options. They were little HTML5 apps and really glorified websites, terrible user experience. So we're like, aha, we got something. So we decided we were going to build a mobile framework to develop native iOS and Android apps. And because of the mobile framework, we have to do it at a very affordable price. And so before we got too far into it, we decided to do our customer validation, customer development, and we went out and spoke to random school districts, technology coordinators, communications director, and we had drawings of what we were going to do, and good explanations, and wanted to see what their feedback was. And we started getting the same feedback, which is, oh, this would be really cool. We love this. This is great. And we kept hearing the but it was the same one every time. This is another system we're going to have to update. This is another system we're going to have to update. We're in the world's gone mobile. There's no way around it. Schools, other organizations, they're getting at mobile apps. The problem is when you do get that, all you've done is created another system that you're going to have to update. You're already not updating your existing systems. So we heard that enough times that we finally, the light bulb went off, and the market is telling us what their problem is. We finally decided, okay, so maybe we should solve the problem that the market is telling us. And we did. So the problem was, it's a couple of things. One of the things that happens is the schools do a great job of telling you of something negative that's happened, and also telling you that there's a school closing because of weather. But in between that, there's like 50 amazing things that students at that school accomplish that never get shared in the community. And it's a shame. And I asked the superintendents, I'm like, can you tell me some of the great things that your students are doing? And they get so excited and their eyes get big and they tell me all these great things their students are doing. And I asked them, how are they sharing that to better engage their audience? And they're just like, we want to. And the thing is, they really did want to. There was just no easy way to do it. Okay? One of the reasons there's no easy way to do it is there's a lot of technological barriers for the staff. Of course, a technology coordinator updates a website because they use the CMS, but who has the closest connection to what's really going on with the students? And it's the teachers. And there's no way that all the teachers are trained to use the CMS to update the website or communicate something else that they want to communicate that their students did very well. And then mobile complications. And what this means is that, I already mentioned, is that schools are getting apps. There's no way around it. All organizations are. But what's happening is when they get that, they just created another problem. They exacerbated the problem that they already had. And so we set out to solve those. We did that with our ProShare publishing platform. And what this is a single place for you to update and manage all of your content. You enter information into one software platform that automatically updates the Android and iPhone app that we developed for you, your website, sends out push notifications, updates Twitter, Facebook, sends out text messages and voice calls all from one system. Imagine how much easier that will make your life. Currently at a school district, you have a technology coordinator that updates the website. You got somebody else. They were lucky, your guys don't have a communication director, most school districts don't. You have somebody else that updates social media. So already you don't have a consistent message. You got somebody else that sends out text messages and alerts. And then the people that are closest to what's happening, the teachers, they have no way of communicating any of this information out there. Okay? So our solution is the ProShare publishing platform, a single place for you to manage and distribute all your content. So it gets even better. We took it another step farther. So as we're out there communicating with the community, like how can we make your job even easier? How can we make it easier so that you can actually communicate more? And the solution is a mobile version of the ProShare publishing platform. So now, right now, a teacher that is seeing some kids working on a science project can take out her phone, take a picture, type in a message, click submit, and that went live everywhere in real time. So a teacher, without the knowledge of running a CMS, just posted to the website. You didn't have to get to the technology coordinator. Technology coordinators can care less about updating websites. Okay, they're more worried about making sure the internet is working and making sure that the hardware is working. And so this, go to a high school website, check out the sports scores. They're not on there. Okay, sports are so big in some of these communities, in a lot of these school communities, especially in the smaller towns. With our solution of the mobile app, an assistant coach, student manager, walking off the court, can log into the app, update the court, score, click submit, that score went live everywhere in real time before they even walked off the floor. It should not be that difficult to share information and to communicate with your audience. And that's what we set out to solve, and we believe that we've done that. The competition, doing exactly what we do, which is a publishing platform, a mobile publishing platform, there isn't anybody that does that specifically. We do have competition, and the competition is going to be all of your other app developers. The reason is when we go into a situation where the school doesn't have an app, it's an easy sell. But when they do have an app, it becomes a little tougher, but we'll still be able to make it. So our competition is a lot of these bigger legacy systems that have been around for a while. But we do have a very, very big differentiator with the publishing platform, and now even bigger with the mobile publishing platform. Our early traction, obviously I'll get up in school district, is some schools that we went on, that we got basically last year. And we were doing that because we were preparing to go get a venture capital. What's awesome about this is that these people had no business signing up with me. Okay, I'm going to school district and I'm working out my house. Okay, they're taking this to school boards and getting it approved. This is taxpayer money. They have to be very responsible for this. And schools under a lot of scrutiny on how they spend their money. For the most part, these were easy sales, and on most of them I could have charged more. And so that made it very, very exciting. When I first went out there, we were like, are we sure, the school district going to be able to afford this? How long is the sales process going to be? We've had no issue. It's actually gone really well. Currently, what we're doing is we're raising $500,000 on a convertible note. We've been very lucky. This has gone very well for us. The majority of the money is already committed, and we've got the rest of it done and closed the entire round this month. So that has gone very well for us. Majority of that money will be to staff up. We plan on having between 10 to 15 employees here in Little Rock by the end of this year. 6 of the hires are already committed and ready to go. So we're really going to be creating a lot of jobs. So thank you very much for your time. And then one other thing I really want to say is that the things that the Venture Center are doing are really awesome. Okay? I've run a successful business before, but I've never run a business that I was trying to scale and raise capital for. So I didn't know what I was doing. And then the Venture Center, they have a lot of mentor sessions, and you can see a lot of companies at a lot of different stages. So I've had multiple mentor sessions with James, like preparing me to go raise capital. And a lot of the knowledge and the resources, some really cool things happening. And it's really important that as a community, you share this with the other people that you know and get them coming to the events and get them more involved. There's some really cool things happening here, and we want to make sure that it continues.
Thanks, Jason. I'm James Hendren. I'm here to introduce Lou McCord with Frontend Development Group. He has been running a similar kind of business out in the San Francisco area and decided to come home back to Arkansas, okay, and got the mentoring and talking and looking over his mind, and I kind of fell in love with what he was doing, saw the huge opportunity, and got a chance to be on the team. So I want to welcome Lou and see an awesome opportunity. Lou.
Thanks, James. Broadband Development Group, when we came back here and kind of got involved in the Venture Center and the Innovation Hub and the Art Challenge, but one thing we kept hearing from the startup guys and all of the entrepreneurs was the internet around here is just too slow and it's expensive. It's awful stuff. Well, that's been a problem we've been working on out in San Francisco fairly successfully, and so we decided to kind of take a look at how to do that. And very first thing we have to do is solve the problem. Well, what's the problem? Speeds are slow. This map of the U.S. shows you that the very fastest speeds are in dark green. The darker the green, the better the speed. And as you might predict, Washington, D.C., Massachusetts around MIT and Harvard, and up in the Northwest, we're Microsoft. So great internet speeds. But if you get to places like Arkansas, the deeper the red, the worse off it is. Arkansas is 50 out of 50 in the country in terms of internet speeds. We're the slowest of the slow. And so if you think that the U.S. is great, the U.S. is 11th in the world in internet speed. South Korea is number 1. Residential people in South Korea can get a gigabit of internet service at their home for $20 a month. You can't get a Comcast to turn on your bill here for $12. So our speed are low, our prices are high, and if you have some sort of internet experience, you might say, well, gee, all those wires and boxes and things, you have to wait on the installer, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's the problem. So how do we look against the competition? Here locally, the competition, it's typical things. The cable company or the telephone company, for us, it's Comcast and AT&T. If you're in Northwest Arkansas, that's Cox. There's a wireless ISP in town, Aristotle. Well, you see their top speed, you see their prices, and you see their features. We're up to 6 times faster than the competition. We're an average of 40% cheaper than the competition, and we are instant on. We have no modem or equipment, and there's no contract. User experience for us is great. This is the future of the internet. This is Google Fiber without Google. Okay? So how do we do it? We go into a multi-building unit apartment building or an office building. We basically create a LAN in there with Ethernet and with Wi-Fi. We systemize the whole building. Then we get onto the building or get access to the building, generally via microwave, maybe fiber optic, maybe millimeter wave, maybe space optical, but typically it's microwave. We get back into a mesh network. We get to the internet through a tier 1 carrier like level 3. And then we have our secret sauce kind of behind the curtain of how the user experience works with self-subscription, customization, automatic billing, all kinds of things that you get to do as a consumer where you don't have to wait for an installer, you don't have to call the company and ask for permission, so forth. And you don't have to rent equipment or buy equipment, stuff like that. So how big is the market? Well, there are 132.8 million households or homes in the U.S. Boil all this down, about 17.4 million of those are apartments that are in buildings that have 10 units or more. So we think, well, let's go see if we can get, a small fraction of that. Let's see if we can get 500,000 subscribers out of 17.4 million. If we do that, we get to about $153 billion in revenue, just on 255,000 subscribers. If we get 500,000 subscribers, we get to about $300 million in revenue. Now, why would we think we could do that? 5 former clients of a company that I had before are in the multifamily home top 50. Those 5 guys represent 207,000 apartments. We have 2 former clients, didn't quite make the top 50, they represent 26,000 change. And then we have 1 current client here in Little Rock, this building as it turns out, and that company owns 21,700 apartment units. So we go make 8 sales to people that we either are doing business with or have done business with in the past. We have a $133 million revenue potential company. Pretty sweet. Here in Little Rock, we have relationships with 4 real estate owners for right of entry. That represents over 30 buildings. That's a little bit over 1,800 potential subscribers. We have 4 buildings in progress and 2 commercial clients, 1 for 500 megabits a month and 1 for 200 megabits a month that we're turning on. So we're pretty excited about that because that's break even for us. That is proof of concept for us. That helps us really get to scale. Our team is myself, of course. I've done a couple of things, a couple of companies. Tom Flack is my original co-founder in this. Tom and I have known each other for 25 years. He's a DSWE with an MS in information networking from Carnegie Mellon. He's the chief operating officer of a wireless network company that built equipment and networks. And they actually built huge networks in India. Tom's been a part of that. Of course, everybody knows James, and James is kind of our corporate governance, public policy, regulatory and political bomber, fighter cover for our bomber as we go along, dropping huge bombs on the competition. Financial highlights of this, that didn't come up very well. I don't know what happened to that slide. We'll get that slide. So what we do, we're asking for $500,000. That's what we're in the middle of raising now. We have some of that already done. We hope we're going to be able to get to a point where we are oversubscribed. What that money is going to be used for is to build out what we have gotten committed to us. I can't remember again what Bridget was talking about. They're in sales mode, not money raising mode. We reversed that. We went out and made sales, now we're raising the money to cover that. So we're all about implementation at this point, because we went out and pre-sold that business. And you can see most of what we're going to use our money for is capital expenses to build out the network. Next strategy is in this business, the smaller get consumed by the big. Even if we're a $150 million company, we will be microscopic in this business. You don't get the name stadiums and stuff by having small businesses. All these guys get the name stadiums, multiple stadiums. So even if we get to $150 million, we'll be a microscopic company, a big company like level 3, the largest carrier in the world, maybe Google Fiber. Pretty creative guys, get somebody to come along and acquire us. The name of the product is Highworthy. Look for it in a building near you soon, because that's what we're doing. Thanks very much. I appreciate your time and your attention.
Thanks, Luke. Next, I'd like to ask James to come back out and talk about how these real ventures are bringing real impact.
Thank you, Lee. Just a couple of statements about the ecosystem we're in here. Entrepreneurial technology startup companies are turning real ideas into real ventures that have real impact. Let's talk about the real impact. These startup companies you just saw already have 17 employees in the ecosystem. So, real quick, there's economic development. If you look at just companies who responded to a survey that used any of the state incentives for these kind of companies, over 4 years, they produced about 1,300 jobs, average pay of $75,000. Compare that to a steel plant. Costs a whole lot more to save money. You need to do that too, I'm not saying that, but huge impact of this kind of stuff in the ecosystem. We also, there's co-working space here that the tech park is doing. Brent, is that all full?
No, two left.
2 left, but all the rest of them are full out there. The 17 employees, those companies, that's even some more. So having a big impact on what's going on here, and we're all just getting started. So just tell you a little bit about ideas turned into real ventures, turned into real impact in the ecosystem.
So, thanks, James. Y'all, let's give a round of applause to the entrepreneurs again. That's 17 new jobs. All right, that's it for us today. I want to give you two announcements. A reminder for one thing up every Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. And our next member venture is May 14th, right, 5:30. We've got a new format. This is going to be pretty cool. We're going to have 6 entrepreneurs pitch, or 6 pitches. We're going to do an open mic, which is going to be cool. We're going to have James and Rod on stage debating investment, venture capital, kind of the state of the capital ecosystem. And then we're going to do a fast-paced speed mixer. And we're going to have somewhere around 30 to 40 technology companies working folks. And we know we've got about 65 software developers coming. So it's May 14th, 5:30. All right, the entrepreneurs are in the back. They're ready to talk to you and ask for referrals and potentially capital. So thanks for coming this morning.